then we'll go from there. But anyways, how are you doing? It is discussion time on Populist at Large. How are we doing, Ryan Clark?
We just out here talk about politics and stuff, just chilling.
I hear you. Are you a welder, or do you just have a certification for it?
I have my hour certifications right now. I am going back to actually get my welding, actual certifications for plate and pipe and all that. But right now we're just I'm a slave to a capitalist system.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? I'm a slave as a caretaker at Putnam Aging, but that's not the only thing I do, obviously, since I'm here. But you can delve into what you do if you want. It's up to you.
So all I really do is right now I've just been working and stuff. But since we have the elections coming up, I've become much more politically aware of the climates than I have been in the past few years.
I hear ya. I hear ya.
So
I have too. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Obviously, Biden is going to be the pick because we do not want to be a slave to our fascist overlords in the next 4 years.
So you don't believe in God Emperor Trump himself?
Oh no! I don't even believe in corporations. I think they're evil.
Corporations can have their way, but some good old regulation stamped on their ass, and we're good to go. Good old socialism and the workers actually having a say with worker co-ops and whatnot, but we might delve into that later. So what are some of your basic principles and basic things you'd like people to know, and what your main ideology would spring as? If you have a label, go ahead and throw that out there. That way I can work better off of you.
Well, on the political compass map, I'm actually, what is it? It's, let me search it up real quick. On the political compass, I range in the Libertarian left, is what I would be. So much more, I align more with, Bernie Sanders and,
well, right now, for primary's sake, Biden and Kamala Harris over Trump and Pence.
Exactly, yes.
I don't know exactly what I am on the political compass. I'm a libertarian leftist too, but if we want to go by the real meaning of libertarian, which means anarcho-communist or anarcho-syndicalist, no one can be on the right political spectrum and be a libertarian. So
yeah.
To be honest, saying libertarian is more than enough for me. But for most politically unsavvy people, when they say libertarian, I'm probably going to think anarcho-capitalist, aka fascism through money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not illegal to have, child sex slaves, but it's not inherently legal either. But if you got the money, get right in there.
Exactly, because you just buy out the judges and nothing's really going to happen.
Exactly. But let's go into some of your philosophy a little bit instead of just bantering about some anarcho-capitalism, those people.
Alrighty, so my personal beliefs align along with I like to study Greek philosophers and their way of how politics should work, which is how many of our modern politics are run these days. They are based off ancient Roman politics, mostly by leaders such as Alexander the Great, who was a fascist.
Yes.
He was a fascist.
But that was because he was dictatorship. I wouldn't necessarily call him fascist, because fascists need an ethno-state and a people to subjugate. I feel under Alexander the Great, culture and everything was pretty much accepted to fucking blend and coerce and shit. He just liked to conquer land because he was a Big Dick McGee at the time, so.
Big Dick McGee. But yeah, so I like to align myself along with more of the Democratic Party, Even though I don't agree with all their policies per se, I agree with much more of their policies than I do any of than what the right has to offer,
I
especially a
completely
way of
understand that.
morality.
Yeah, because they have more of an objective morality. Because a lot of their stuff comes from religion, which I'm going to guess you're an atheist. I do know you a little bit, so I'm pretty sure you're an atheist. It's been a while since we've talked. Uh,
Yes, yes,
the left has more of a subjective morality because we don't base it on faith or tradition. But you're old enough to vote, correct? I would assume that.
yes. I am 18.
I'm assuming that you're either a Democrat or independent. I myself am independent
I
because
am also
both
an
suck.
independent.
But the Democrats better than fascist Trump and his
For
Proud
what we
Boys.
have right now, the Democrats are definitely the pick for us. Even though that I like Bernie Sanders, more Bernie Sanders policies above all of them. But currently, Bernie Sanders is saying to vote for Biden just because he knows that a vote for him is only going to it's going to buy into the Trump administration, and the Republicans are going to end up winning if people just
Yeah,
um, vote for him.
he took the smart play of instead of trying to divide the party, he's trying to unify it, and for the most part, that is working. There are a lot of Bernie or busters, which I can understand but don't agree with. But they I understand their sentiments, but they're just hurting the cause at this point.
Yes. Um, and people who are saying that like if they can't get a vote for Bernie, they're not going to vote at all.
Do you know how I can tell you're anxious?
That's not
You
going to
never said
change the
that straight.
Democratic Party whatsoever because many people they want the Democratic Party to be this one thing, this one ideology. Um,
But there's a
and
lot
they
of
think
leftist ideology to mix in there, and
exactly,
they don't
and
know how
then
to open the spectrum to be like, okay, we need to pull in this people or this people. But
and
I
they think that
completely understand.
if they don't vote for the Dems, they think that the Dems are going to change their party standards. They're not. That didn't work in the last election. It's not going to work in this one, and this is a much more dire election.
Yes, especially since Trump has basically hinted at cooing if he doesn't win, but he has recently come off of that and said he would give up peacefully if he loses. I'm glad he has said that, but I still wouldn't be surprised if some of his right-wing nut job militia groups, that's what they call them on the media, but really they're just fucking terrorists, but you know.
Yes, especially where they kidnapped that governor, but
They didn't actually kidnap her. They almost did, and then they
yeah,
got
yeah.
caught in their scheme. And
Eh,
one of them
tr- tr-
was funny enough, an anarcho-capitalist. So
See, Trump can't offer support to the governor because he is running against the governor and that party, but he also can't denounce the terrorists as they are because they're his people. So that's very
well,
interesting.
Trump is a major narcissist who got no love from his parents. Obviously, that's why he soaks up any appraisal or achievement he can get from the people that he takes as his constituents. But even the alt-righters, or the more correctly to say the white nationalist neo-Nazis, have kind of backed off of him because he did technically denounce them, but it was because he had to, or people were going to be majorly pissed off with him. So
Even then, he didn't. I don't believe he totally denounced them just by saying "stand back and stand by" in the first debate.
it wasn't the debate. He went on to a different
Oh, he
news
did.
thing, and he was like, I denounce far right militia groups and stuff. And on Reddit, you can see them like being like, "God, Emperor Trump has failed us," and stuff. Which they say that unironically, whereas we say that ironically. Kind of depressing that anyone would say that unironically, but then again, they did cheer when he said, "I'll run for 3 or maybe even forever as president," and it's like, oh, okay, you're really that stupid.
Yeah. Um. But I really want to discuss especially that what was brought up is how Trump said that he was going to have a plan for climate change, um, which is it's obviously not. I don't believe it's debated about as much as a Black Lives Matter, which is very important.
I think right now the most important would definitely be COVID, since that's a national crisis. But in the scale that you have given, Black Lives Matter is probably more important in the short term, but climate change is our long term. And do you mean Biden's plan? Because he did say Trump.
Well, Trump said that he quote unquote had a plan in place. I believe he was just offering rhetoric of
course he was,
just defending himself quickly. A lot of people are saying, many leftists are very upset about Biden's plan because it's not the Green New Deal, but Biden's plan has been many aspects from the Green New Deal in it.
Oh yeah, it's Green New Deal light. It's better than nothing in my opinion, and is actually pretty good. Biden has actually come over on quite a few things that I wouldn't expect him to. His tax plans, which I don't know if are incorporated into that, are pretty nice too, but we can discuss this later. But as you were saying with Trump's plan, in quotations.
Yeah, I believe it was just rhetoric and in a way to defend himself quickly while he was on live TV, while Biden offered his full-fledged plan, saying, he wants to offer what was it, different alternatives to energy.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is like maybe geothermal or solar panels.
Those can do it, but I don't know if you've done any research on nuclear recently, but there's a new I think it's plutonium or something like that, and it's much safer than the nuclear plants than we did have, the ones in Chernobyl and what's the one in Japan? Crap, I can't remember them yet, but it was safer than both of those, and basically is almost impossible unless completely intentional that it would melt down or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we could definitely pull on to the nuclear thing, but I understand people's fear, but they're mostly ignorant of it. So
yes, and also you have to address their concern of, especially people in Appalachia. Coal is bad, but not exactly for the economy, more for the environment. Considering that the only thing that we really have in West Virginia, especially, is coal. There are a few other things, like obviously the military and that, but most of our economy is based off coal. But
I would say our economy for the future will have to be definitely tourism. That's probably our second biggest point at this point. I'd say coal is a detriment to our economy, seeing as too many people relied on it as work, and we got it to the point where we needed like a 100th of the workforce to actually do what we wanted to do with it, because all they do is flat top it, which takes a few people to put the explosives in place, make sure they're safe, detonate them, and then the people to work the machines that get all the coal out. So
now, more people are more worried about are the people who are going to lose their jobs if we switch to this new deal. And what has always been proposed is that we take those people who are losing their jobs and we train them and we put them into whatever is being implemented next, whether it be nuclear or geothermal or solar panel technicians, whatever you want to do, which especially in the case of geothermal, West Virginia is a very good place to do that, just because we have pockets from the Earth's inner, that we can dig into, and we can run
the
through
heat
that
from and get the energy and whatnot. But I'd say energy-wise, we could definitely do geothermal to nuclear, especially since if I do believe correctly, John Amos, which we live very close to, it supplies power to New York. So
yes, New York, Pennsylvania, and I think.
What you cut off on that last part? What'd you say?
Sorry, I unplugged my headset. But yes, New York, Pennsylvania. It goes directly north.
Excuse me. Yeah, basically, and we could then use that. We could somehow like get a tax out of it or something that could stimulate our economy since we are providing them energy. I don't know if we get any comeback on that energy as a state. I highly doubt it because the company might be stationed in fucking New York, so it just boosts their economy while we're the ones providing it. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that exactly works. I could probably do research into that, but that's not the important part of the situation. I'd say getting the energy up would be really cool, though. It would also make a lot of jobs because there would be a lot of technicians and stuff. But technology has always been a big thing in America, too. And we have been the full force of innovation at one point, and now we aren't because our economy, our infrastructure, our education, and probably 90% of America is set from a 1950s standpoint in terms of modernization, whereas everything else in like Europe and stuff has actually upgraded their infrastructure and their technology since then. But you know, they actually care and don't just go free markets are the way to go, even though that's why we have nothing but monopolies at this point.
Which is very interesting because capitalism is based on infinite growth and infinite consumption, which is only going to drain our natural resources faster and put us into almost what I would call a natural resource drought. I think the best things that are going to save our economy, especially, are going to be either energy reinnovation or the legalization of marijuana.
Well, legalization of I support the decriminalization of all drugs, and definitely the full legalization of marijuana, because that itself just increases revenue, decreases crime, etc. And if you do the decriminalization of the rest, that also can be used as a tax revenue and decrease crime, because the war on drugs since the 80s, because Reagan thought, I only know how to fight wars, so drugs must be the same way. Turned out that didn't work so well.
Exactly. Now we have family members that are in prison for possession of marijuana, or they're struggling with addiction because of the opioid epidemic, especially, which many families have suffered, especially mine.
I don't have anyone personally that I know that has been through that, but I do know the struggles of addiction. I've talked to people, I've done research and whatnot, and I know that it is very bad, but it also doesn't help that our rehab abilities, especially on a federal level, since there are no regulations on it, are basically dog shit. I can't remember the exact reservation for this, or whatever it's called, but this rehab center, all you do is pet horses and pay out the ass to pet horses over your addiction. And I can understand petting horses can help with that to some degree, because some people like animals and stuff and it makes them calm, but when all you're doing is petting horses, you're not talking about the addiction, and you don't do anything but pet the horses, you're not helping the situation. So
exactly.
Making better education, and then we'll probably talk more about this, but going for universal health care for all of some sort, as Bernie put it, Medicare for all. I wouldn't necessarily put it to that, but it is an easier way of stating it. Would help our rehab. It would also help people that are, if we decriminalized all drugs, it would help people feel less stigmatized and feel threatened that if they come out as a junkie or someone who is addicted, that they'll be just basically told they're worthless, because that's since the 80s, that's all they've been told their entire life, is that if you do drugs, you're a worthless person.
And even philosophically, when you look at why people do drugs, it's because life is inherently very miserable.
It doesn't have to be, it just so happens to be in America.
Especially, yes. Just with the state of how the middle class is being destroyed, and now you have the 1% and the rest of us who are poor, who are struggling, and when you feel like you have nowhere to go and you're not fighting for anything in life, like you're just working day in and day out just to live, why not turn to drugs? But obviously that's not the answer. What I'm saying is, from a philosophical standpoint, that's how you would think poor people are thinking. But like, I think that one of the best alternatives, even if Biden doesn't win, is private rehab facilities, such as there is Second Chance, which is founded out of California. It was founded by a schizophrenic ex-drug addict, and he helps with people who are felons or have previous drug addictions find jobs and offer them help. So privatized rehab centers are still a choice, but
Yes,
we definitely need to invest in.
we need to
more.
invest in them, and we also need to set a standard regulation for them. That's probably one of the better rehab centers, but like I stated, there's a rehab center that doesn't help anyone and just takes their insurance money or their money out of their pocket, which private insurance, don't get me started on that bullcrap, but that's nothing but a hoax to pull more and more out of the people, even though they've got the pharmaceutical companies and medical companies on their side helping them make sure costs are already as demanding as they are now. So it's just a big scam from the top down, and it's honestly infuriating that it's still around.
Exactly. So I want to lead into the coronavirus a little bit because I have an article pulled up that I wanted to kind of pull from. So
If you don't mind, will you put that in the chat actually, and I will look at it with you.
yeah, absolutely. Let me figure out how to share it real fast. I think here.
Because I don't mind to look at stuff. That
Yeah. Let me copy the link real quick and I'll send it to the chat.
sweet. I'll pull it up and then we can look at that, just so people can see what we're seeing.
There you go. And if you scroll down, it'll say it's actually it's divided into sections. It says coronavirus.
Sweet.
And this is off of the CFR.org.
Sweet. Let me just put this over here. Gotta open up my tabs.
How many of those did you have?
Joe Biden, former president. Okay, so let's just Joe Biden. Okay, everyone knows Joe Biden at this point. If you don't know, go look him up. China, this is what it says so far. Biden has framed China's rise as a serious challenge. He has criticized its abusive trade practices. I agree. Warning that it may pull ahead of the United States. I'm pretty sure it already has, because it just steals 90% of our innovations at this point and make them their own, because we won't make them put in a patent law. And they are, like it will say, and its human rights record, which has been abysmal since pretty much the start. Just because I do like the thought of communism, though, because I probably lean closer to anarcho-communist to anarcho-syndicalist, doesn't mean I agree with authoritarianism like in China right now. As it also states, he says he would mount a more effective pushback against China than Trump and would work more closely with allies to pressure Beijing. I'd say another number one way to do that is to completely support the Hong Kong protesters while completely suppressing the Hong Kong elite, because they are all for China, because they will just get benefits out the ass while they suppress the protesters, which has been awful. That used to be a big thing that I was into for a long time, and it was just abysmal how they were treated and tear gassed and stuff, and then it came to America, so it became a more pertinent thing to talk about America than China. Biden agrees with Trump that China is breaking international trade rules, unfairly subsidizing Chinese companies and discriminating against U.S. firms and stealing their intellectual property. He says 1 million manufacturing jobs have been lost to China. That is very true, but they could honestly have used TPP, because I don't know if TPP was had China involved, but if they would have used TPP, they could have pressured to put more jobs in countries actually around us that support democracy, at least to some degree, than authoritarianism with fake democracy. Where did you want to get into this, or do you just want to go through this bit by bit?
I was saying we could go through it bit by bit, just kind of talk about it. I'm not as updated on the China stuff. I've been more into more recent events, especially since I've been getting back into politics and learning more. Just more of the matters at hand right now, such as coronavirus, Black Lives Matter, uh,
Police
uh,
brutality, climate
police.
change, etc.
Yeah,
The,
and
the stuff we've been talking about previously, for the most part. But you have anything to say about what I've talked about so far? Because I've been kind of hogging.
from what I know, it seems like China has they have a corporation ring in which the poor are being extradited into working, um, and it's become another dynasty of sorts.
Oh, most definitely. But instead of, I wouldn't say dynasty. I'd say more of just of like a kind of a dictatorship through random progression through who can be the most cutthroat. As we all know, Xi Jinping is quite cutthroat because he likes to cut anything that makes fun of him at all. I don't know if you heard, but he cut out Winnie the Pooh from China because he got made fun for looking like Winnie the Pooh, which I think is quite hysterical. If anything, he could have used that to his benefit, because Winnie the Pooh is this lovable character, and throwing them under basically the boot step of dictatorship kind of makes you look bad, in my opinion. But I don't know. Disney's not huge in China or anything, but
Yeah.
I'm obviously being sarcastic, but they severely are, because they're one of the customers they have. If you want to ramble a little bit, I'm being asked a question by my family.
Gotcha.
Do you want
So
to see?
especially one of the things that I wanted to speak of,
Cool.
which I think is very important, is the subject of coronavirus, which
Because then I would just have to make a different video.
under Trump's administration we have lost 200,000 people, which is
Over 200,000 people at this point, which is
it's nearly half of everyone we lost in World War II within a couple of months.
which is kind of depressing. But if Trump is so adamant of even one person is too much, then why did he get to the point where that was multiplied by 200,000 plus?
Yes, and also looking at the numbers which have been looked at by the CDC, we're looking at over 400,000 by the end of the year. The first case of reinfection by coronavirus has been confirmed, and it seems that the symptoms are even worse the second time around, so herd immunity has become questioned at this point.
I can't think of anything I might text you. I agree with that. If just to put a little bit of a standpoint, Trump has hit the 10th mark of, or a 10% quota of if he did absolutely nothing, which he basically has been doing. He says he put a ban on China, which he did put that almost immediately. He could have done it definitely sooner, but he left Europe open for 3 months without putting a ban on them, and then now we are subsequently had been banned, and now they're for the most part fine and have us banned because we are basically the powerhouse of pandemic failure at this point.
It's like we're playing Plague Inc. and we're the big red blot on the map.
So far, whoever decided to start in China did a great thing, but then screwed themselves over, because they should have probably started in a place that would have handled this worse, like Brazil.
So Biden has released, if you scroll down to the coronavirus section of this, it says, in the first bullet point, it says Biden has released a pandemic plan with a three-pronged approach, a health response, an economic response, and a global response. He cites his experience as vice president, during which he helped lead the Obama administration's responses to the 2009 H1N1 pandemic and the 2014 to 2016 Ebola pandemic. The plan would nationalize the coronavirus response rather than regulate it to state governments, as the Trump administration has done.
There has been some good about the state-run regulations, but only in certain places that are more democratically run. Trump likes to state New York as a terrible example, but New York is one of the few states that isn't on the rise again as bad as some other states, including our own state, and
Indeed.
actually only has small pockets of resurgence and are going to be focusing on them. So they've actually controlled their virus relatively well compared to what we have done. It also now states his plan calls for a national emergency healthcare mobilization that ramps up testing, makes it free, and provides transparency on the resulting data. It also promises to rapidly expand hospital capacity by quickly creating temp hospitals, in part through the mobilization of the Defense Department, which I don't know why Trump hasn't done that yet. He likes to brag about how we're a good wartime country and has yet to declare war on the coronavirus. Quite ironic in that case, especially since he himself has gotten it. He wants to establish a national corps of at least 100,000 contact tracers and accelerate the creation of vaccines and other treatments. He would also like to mandate wearing masks in public. That alone could save people in the thousands and possibly hundreds of thousands, the national mandate for wearing a mask. Another thing that would help is the corpse for contact tracers, because my sister has been exposed twice to COVID from her work, and it took them 3 days after the fact to tell her the first time, and I don't know how long after the second time it took them to get a hold of her, because I have not pinpointed that down, but it was more than a day, I do believe.
And I like what you said, how our state is handling very poorly, especially in the accordance to the map that Governor Justice has provided and how skewed it is.
And because his map, we're actually doing quite well. In the Harvard map, which is the one that we used at first, we'd basically be in the below gold. We're all orange and red, which I can probably find that real quick, so I can show them what we're speaking of. I didn't want to do that.
I have to go answer the phone really fast if you just want to talk for a second.
I can do that for now. Oh, I did not mean to do this. As I'm about to show you, if I can find my button for getting out of full screen. I'll just do that. Bam, bam.
Alrighty, I'm back.
I'm bad at spelling. Fuck it, I'll just do it terribly. Versus Jim Justice.
Just 1 second.
I'm just trying to find the map for the coronavirus thing. Harvard experts say map is flawed. Here, I can find an article on it. Harvard researcher criticizes West Virginia COVID map while CDC copies it. Morgantown, which is one of our bigger cities. It's the city that hosts West Virginia University, our probably biggest university. A Harvard University professor has criticized West Virginia's color-coded COVID map while the U.S. CDC has copied it. The two bits of news on Friday tied in with a question from the Dominion Post prompted jubilation and ire from Governor Jim Justice. He's a Republican governor, and he owns the Greenbrier, which is probably one of the wealthier parts of our state, and tying in that he's probably one of the wealthiest people in West Virginia because he's the only billionaire from West Virginia, I do believe.
Sorry about that. I got 2 spam calls in the matter of seconds.
Hate those spam calls. But the question has also led that the COVID-19 Cesar Clay Marsh to coin a new phrase, the West Virginia model. Justice was pleased to announce that the CDC this week released a table of indicators for dynamic school decision making based on West Virginia's chart. Its color scheme is different. It is green, light green, yellow, orange, and red, and its parameters are more liberal. Green is less than 5 cases per 100,000. West Virginia is 3 or less. Light green is 5 to less than 20. West Virginia yellow is 3.1 to 9.9. Yellow is 25 to less than 50. West Virginia is 10 to 14.9. Orange is 50 to 200. West Virginia is 15 to 24.9. And red is more than 200. West Virginia's red is 25 or more. And the CDC uses a 14-day rolling average. West Virginia applies only to its smallest counties. Justice noted that Dr. Deborah Birx, a lead advisor on the Vice President Mike Pence COVID task force, which is nothing more than a joke, I do believe, they criticize Fauci on the daily and then expect you to listen to what he says, so I'm not surprised that no one listens to him. Mike Pence's task force has praised West Virginia's map during a visit here. He recalled her saying West Virginia was leading the practice in regard to this, and so many people should try to mirror it. He added, "We think we're onto something really good, even though it puts most of our kids in danger because this map is what schools have been using to determine whether they should go back to school."
And also play sports, which is another issue.
That's not totally a place for disease to just go ape. And the CDC uses, I've read that. Justice noted, I've already read that too. West Virginia's narrower metrics reflect the caution that was kept the state comparatively healthy, he said. We're continuing to do the right thing and being more stringent than what the new CDC's color code system is, and I think we should stay the course. The Dominion's post question focused on concerns that the public has raised about the state maps and how they cause confusion and undermine confidence, which I wasn't confident as soon as I knew that he was making a new map, and knowing that we're sticking with it lowers it even more. Oh yes, get the trick-or-treat lottery, come to West Virginia, by the way. It's an okay state, we need money. Please send help. How did I get down to counterterrorism? I was on coronavirus. I'm back on the Biden thing now, though.
Alright.
We were at his second plot point, calls for national emergency, the national mandate for masks, and using the Defense Department resources to actually start producing the PPE and temporary hospital equipment we would need to face this. If you want to go ahead and go for the third plot point, you can.
Absolutely. So it states the plan promises zero out-of-pocket expenses for anyone who needs coronavirus-related health services of any kind by amending the relevant laws governing both private and public health insurance plans. The plan doesn't offer a cost estimate, but the campaign official says Biden would spend whatever it takes to get the coronavirus crisis under control. I believe that alone speaks statements about how much Biden actually cares for the American people,
or at least how good he is at faking it.
Based on how Trump has handled the situation, just from that promise alone, Biden is obviously, has more experience, especially in handling, illnesses or viruses going rampant, such as in the H1N1
and the
breakout.
Ebola pandemic as well.
Yeah.
It also speaks to he actually wants to try and get this under control, whereas Trump says we already have it under control for the most part, which speaks to most people, seeing as most people know that it isn't under control. It's quite disastrous at this point, and it's why our economy at one point was getting trillions of dollars a day just to keep it afloat, while people went out and died trying to keep the economy afloat themselves. But then we only got one stimulus check for $1,200 for since March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. It's been 8 months so far, and we've gotten $1,200 per month. That is despicable and disgusting. And it took at least 4 or 5 months before I got mine. So a lot of people got theirs probably even later than that.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at other countries, especially in the European Union, they got much more care. People were getting up to $3,000 a month during the pandemic, whether they completely shut down their economies. And, obviously they kept, the health department up and all that. But, you didn't go outside during that time. They did everything they could, I feel, and their people were taken care of. And then you look at the duality of that compared to America, and we are just stuck in the rut basically because I feel like we're a country that is we have this stigma: if you're not working, you're just a lazy piece of shit,
Yeah, because everyone in this country, at least to some degree, thinks that this is a meritocracy, whereas could be farther from the point. I doubt Jeff Bezos works billions of dollars harder than the guy with 4 jobs and still can't pay his rent. So I want to call bullshit on the meritocracy right now.
Exactly. And especially if we took a person such a just a quick point from that Jeff Bezos thing. Many people don't know, if we taxed Jeff Bezos as corporations are taxed before the Reagan administration, we could solve student debt in America for colleges. And then still have enough money left over to even offer better education systems in poor parts of the country, especially where crime is rampant. Because the biggest part about crime is it's people who didn't get the best education, so they have to turn to selling dope or joining a gang in order to make money.
Because all they know from the impoverished city that they're in is gang warfare and crime, because they don't know anything else. And their education system, which is based off of residential taxes, which that in its own self should say certain places have a degree of privilege when it comes to their taxes compared to others. Because if you've got a $3,500,000 home for every house compared to a $10,000 home for every house, the education system is going to be widely different.
Yeah, exactly. So the standpoint I'm trying to make is no one should have that much money in America. There's no feasible way one person can spend that much money in a lifetime. That is far more than anyone could need. And people who say, well, he earned it, no. He manipulated his way into earning that much. He manipulated the working class, and he manipulated the system which protects him.
And then he also then probably uses that money, probably easily confirmed, in paying for certain Democrat and Republican politicians to put in place protections for his class even further, especially if he had any allocation of money for the Trump administration, because he definitely, even though he doesn't like Trump, he definitely got a major tax cut when he started paying less taxes than I do, and I'm in the lowest rung, by the way, of the tax bracket. I pay 28% taxes, whereas Jeff Bezos paid 24% on the effective tax rate. So if that says anything, which it should, he should not have that much money. Another thing to be said about that real quick is that Jeff Bezos did manipulate his money through all that, and then doesn't give his workers any of it, and then force them to work through this pandemic without the PPE to keep themselves safe. So he even had people killed, probably unintentionally in quotation, to work his factories for him, which everyone knows that Amazon warehouses are despicable places to work because of how low the standards of the protections are for those people.
Yep. I'm actually gonna have to hop off right now. My grandparents just got home and Kaylee's here, and I'm gonna hang out with her for her birthday right now.
Oh no, dude, I completely understand. We can do this another time if you would like to
Yeah,
finish up.
just let me know whenever you want to run it again, and I'll see when I'm free. I'm usually off on the weekends, so I'll keep you updated on like my schedule and stuff, and we can probably go for something a bit longer.
Oh, most definitely. I'd definitely like to, and if Kaylee's around, I don't know if she's politically involved. I would assume she is, at least to some degree, to keep up with your conversations with her, but I don't know. If she would like to join, she could definitely do that as well.
Absolutely, she mostly aligns. Like we're very like similar in our beliefs. So
well, that's a good thing. That probably helps at the dinner table. Hypothetically. Well, you have a good one, bud. I don't want to keep you waiting because it is her birthday, and I don't want to keep her waiting either. So I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. You have a good one, buddy. You can go ahead and go.
Alrighty. Catch you later, man.
Catch you later. I'm going to keep going through Biden's plan a little bit since we were in the middle of that. I just want to go through it a little bit more. He also plans to propose incentives for businesses, which is a good thing, to produce more PPE, such as masks and gloves. His administration would work with businesses to return some pharmaceutical and medical equipment supply chains back to the United States, which they are not, for a majority of them, because they've been outsourced, like it says here, for the production abroad. I just want to finish the coronavirus and then completely end this. He promises to lead an expanded global response, which I think we should have been doing since the start. Working with other countries to get this under control would have made this a much less deadly disease. He wants to coordinate with the U.S. Agency for International Development, the USAID, and would assist vulnerable nations, which are probably poorer nations, kind of like Haiti, Jamaica, and whatnot, a lot of Mediterranean ones, probably a lot of African countries as well. He pledges to rejoin the World Health Organization, which we should have never pulled out of because that would have helped us stop this coronavirus much sooner, or COVID-19, whichever you prefer, and cooperate more closely with the United Nations and other major world players. Since Trump has been in office, we have steered farther away from any democratic nations and have become much closer with any dictatorial nations, even though we also clash with them at the same time, because Russia and China are the two biggest dictatorial nations, which he likes to buddy up to until it comes to fooling his constituents into thinking that he will actually do something for them. He says he wants to restore the White House National Security Council Directorate for the Global Health, Security, and Biodefense, an office with National Security Council for preparing and coordinating response to pandemics that the Trump administration disbanded in 2018. That's another reason we probably got slammed really hard by COVID-19. He also promises to expand staffing and funding for the State Department and other federal agencies. He also wants to fault Beijing for a lack of transparency. Anyone could have guessed that they would have a lack of transparency because they're a dictatorship. They're not going to tell you what their true results are and how many people actually died. And he says he would have insisted on sending U.S. health experts. Unlike Trump did, he just let them walk all over him, and he's supposed to be the strongman for the right. Yet he gets walked on by every other dictatorship that comes his way. On the economic front, his plan proposes a raft of federal programs to protect workers. Good, the workers have been the ones suffering most, since they're the ones that have been trying to keep the economy up. These include mandated paid sick leave policies, expanded unemployment benefits, which is good. $600 a month is not good enough, even though a lot of people have been on that. Additional funds for the federal food programs. There are a lot of starving people right now because they cannot work or find work, and no one wants to get near people that are homeless and stuff because they are usually seen as people that are going to spread disease, which is quite depressing because a lot of homeless people are actually just out on their luck and are abused by the system that they tried to work for. Child care programs, which could be a great way for people to actually go out and work, and then have a place for their kids to learn and to be safe if this was implemented. But this is also probably going to happen after the coronavirus, and he wants to give loans to small businesses. Now, this is a good thing, but a small business is fewer than 500 workers, I do believe. I can actually look that up right now, but I do believe what constitutes a small business in the United States. In the United States, the legal definition of a small business is determined by the U.S. Small Business Administration, which sets the criteria by the SBA in making small business determinations. Where is it? A manufacturing maximum number of employees may range from 500 to 1,500. Wholesaling is 100 to 500. And what a lot of companies like to do is they like to make the people that work for them freelancers and whatnot, making them unofficial workers for their company, and then they can classify themselves as a small business. So hopefully there's some regulations on this that keep them from abusing that, but I wouldn't find it likely, seeing as he's a corporatist himself. At least a better corporatist than Trump, because Trump was a narcissist who only helped himself. It also proposes a new state and local emergency fund that will allow governors and mayors to access federal dollars for a range of purposes, including mortgage and rental reliefs, job programs, or direct cash payments to citizens. Now, a better way to do this is to furlough or even freeze rent until this is over. Jobs programs we need in general, because our economy jobs are mostly low standard minimum wage jobs that do not pay enough, and a direct cash payment to citizens is a lot better than what we did get as a single direct cash payment. A single direct cash payment was abysmal for an 8-month period of $1,200 for that entire period. And for me, like I said, I didn't get mine till about June or July, I can't remember exactly, and that's 3 or 4 months too late for a lot of it. I'm going to end this here, guys. You guys have a great one.